call the meeting to order. Please stand and pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Please silence your cell phone. Stephanie, Ms. Sutherland, will you guys have a roll call, please?
Mayor Plummer,
Here.
Commissioner Brooks,
Here.
Commissioner Roberts,
Here.
Commissioner Galbraith,
Here.
Commissioner Gibson.
Here.
We have a quorum and ready for the transaction of business.
Okay, the first thing on our agenda today is the approval of the minutes for the July 13th, 2021 meeting. So, have a motion from Mr. Brooks,
Second.
a second from the mayor. Madam Clerk, you have roll call, please.
Mayor Plummer,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Galbraith,
ma'am.
Commissioner Gibson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, we have special requests. First, we have Accutran for a request for the Pumpkin Festival and street closer. Mr. Key.
Good morning, everybody.
Good
morning.
Happy birthday, man.
Oh, thank you.
It's funny how Facebook lets you know things.
I try to hide it.
Wanted to take this time to thank y'all for giving me the opportunity to request this. This would be our fourth Pumpkin Festival downtown. Since we moved to downtown, it's been unbelievably successful, and we'd like to try to keep the energy going like we had in 2019, where we had close to 5,000 people that show up. And with that, it was due to a lot of the sponsorships that we had, especially WLEX Channel 18, who blew up the airways with promotional pieces of it. But with that, I'd like to ask permission for you all to please allow us to, for street closures, on September the 18th from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. That would be for the part of Main Street from 4th Street to Pleasant, and then also from Evergreen Place and Bankers Row at High Street to close off the horseshoe there around the courthouse. We've already submitted a request for the county and fiscal court to allow us to have our event there. They did approve that, so that has been approved. We also have spoken with the city electric department about the electrical on the side of the street. I was informed that there's now an actual new junction box there on the courthouse square. It's going to make it a lot easier to accommodate a lot of people. I've also spoken with the police department about road closures and helping with the barricades and the like. Also, I asked this last year as well, was to have the parking lot on Bankers Row, to have that cordoned off between 5 a.m. and 3 p.m. on the 18th to accommodate the Hunt Brothers Cornhole Tournament. It's probably going to be even larger this year than it was last year, and we'll need to, or 2 years ago, and so we would like to have that.
And that, I believe that parking lot belongs to the fiscal court, county government. You would need to get their permission.
But I got a no parking label, so I think from here, which was,
Understand.
so that's why I was just asking.
Yeah, I understand.
It still doesn't stop people from parking in there. We will of course have sanitation taken care of, and this for us is a one-day event. It's not. It was a 2-day event before. This is a 1-day event. I've spoken with the health department with issues pertaining to masking and distancing and so forth. And since the event is 100% outside, unless there's some additional protocols that are put into place, we'll make sure that we abide by all protocols necessary. We will probably not have bouncy houses unless they are deemed okay at the time, which I don't foresee that probably happening. We could possibly have even a blow-up slide, but other than that, that's, but we are in communication with the health department to make sure we are in compliance. If there's any questions, yes, sir.
Did District 7 give permission?
Not yet. I was gonna ask you all first before I ask them.
Okay.
And I waited this long because I wanted to see where we were gonna go, so it's, so.
Any other questions? We'll entertain a motion to approve the request from AccuTrade.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion by the mayor, second by Mr. Brooks. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gabbard?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you all very
Thanks,
much. Have a good.
Thank you, David.
Next, we have Betty and Alan with tourism regarding a parking lot closure request. Dan.
How are you all? I'm here asking permission to use the parking lot, I'll call it the Eiffel Tower parking lot, but the parking lot on the corner of Main A and High Street. We'd like to do a Golden Oldies Festival, and it would be a 60s night. So we will have a disc jockey that will play 60s music. And a lot of people I've talked to are very excited about it because we're all in that age, but there's others that will have fun too. Let's understand. Food trucks. Food trucks, drinks, dessert trucks, that kind of thing, similar to Festival on Fifth. Bring your own chair. I have talked with Holly McMillan, Brandon Cherry, Daryl Pointer, Farmers Market. I left a message for Tom Brannick, but he hasn't called me back yet. And I have made flyers that we can put on cars, you know, the week or so before to make everybody aware that the parking lot will close. I think probably if it closed at 4:30, we're planning to do 6 to 10 for the entertainment part of it. That if we close at 4:30, that would give everybody plenty of time, or we could possibly close at 5 o'clock if you felt like that was a better time to close. I have been in contact with Sparky about electric, and I did talk to Andrea Brown at the health department, and because it's outside, it should be okay. So she said right now, as far as everything goes, that anything outside is fairly safe. So, and then I think I need to provide proof of event insurance. Is that right? I've never done this. We've always been in conjunction.
Typically, that's what's required.
So once you all get permission, then I will look into that and give you that proof of event insurance. Any questions? Oh, and Larry Stevenson, I talked to him. He's going to provide some 60s cars to add to the atmosphere, so it should be fun.
So streets remain wide open, so.
Oh, yeah, no streets will be closed, just the parking lot.
What date was that?
August 27th, Friday night. And I'll be getting it advertised instantly today so that we can get the word out.
Check with Lee.
Yes, did I not say Lee? Yeah, I didn't put him on the list. Yes, I did check with Lee.
Okay, you've heard the request from tourism for a Golden Oldies Festival to have a motion to approve the closure of the parking lot.
Make a motion.
Have a motion.
Thank you all. I know this is not on the agenda, but after listening to Ned, September 17th would be when we would have Art Walk. So we would want to close the street down as normal, as we always have, from 10th down to 2nd on that night, probably from 5 or 5:30 to 9 or 9:30.
Well, let's vote on the motion that's on the floor now.
Oh, sorry.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gabbard?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gibson,
Yes.
Mayor Plummer,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, I'm sorry, the art walk will be
Yeah,
September
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have.
17th.
17th, the night before Pumpkin Festival, like it's generally been in the past. Same kind of thing that we always do. I did talk to Andrea about that. Now, Art Walk's always been rain or shine because the artists can go inside. If they have to go inside, she highly recommends that we put signs on the doors that say, please wear a mask inside, and ask that everybody wears a mask. That's as of yesterday, so.
Okay, thank you. I don't know that any action is needed by us. You do need an encroachment permit from the state.
Right, right.
State highway.
What if there should be one, since these are back-to-back meetings, is that gonna trip up the spirit?
Ned, you might check on your encroachment permit and work with Lydia Ann and maybe you can include both of them.
Okay. I just, since we're back-to-back days, I didn't want the district to maybe think,
Yeah,
that way everybody knows everybody's in favor of both.
Right.
You know.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you, Lydia Ann.
And I don't think Kim's here.
She's on the new agenda that we passed out before.
Yeah, but what I was gonna say is she asked me if she was not here to kind of tell what she was asking.
Okay, well, next we have the
Oh, I'm
Austin
sorry.
render
About to,
from the
about
Bourbon
to
Burn.
skip
You
you,
want to
sorry
report
about
Austin?
that.
There you go.
Thank you. We have an agenda. Thank you all for making time for me, commissioners, mayor, appreciate you. So just a high-level overview of our event, the Bourbon Burn. This is our 4th year. Based out of the Kentucky Horse Park, it's a 3-day bike tour by day, not so different from the Horsey 100, but it's a bike tour of the bourbon distillery, so they get to see where it's made, how it's made. No drinking allowed on the course. Lay that out front. This is it's not a booze cruise. Folks get to bike to the distilleries, again, see how it's made, where it's made, and then each evening at the Horse Park is where we host the whiskey festival, where distilleries are present, samples that are very small and regulated by state law and policy. This year, we'd like to visit Paris and Hartfield Distillery on Friday, September 24th. The bulk of the riders would be arriving between 9, I'll say the first riders would be arriving around 9 a.m. and the last of them would be around 2 p.m. with the bulk kind of being between the 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Time frame. So riders from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. with the majority of them coming, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And after conferring with Andrew down at Hartfield, in the past we've come on a Sunday, so it's usually pretty quiet. Bank parking lots are empty, and we've been able to utilize those for bike parking, and we have a little support stop set up for hydration and nutrition. Since this will be a Friday, the bank parking lot will be utilized, of course, and this year, as of now, we have a record crowd. We're going to expect about 1,000 riders to come through the town between those hours, so not all at once, but again, between those hours of 9 and 2. And Andrew had suggested that we perhaps have 4th Street closed off from Pleasant over to Stoner, so essentially that kind of L-shaped section of 4th Street that wraps around the distillery there. And really, I think this is maybe a 2-part ask. That would be the first, that we could have 4th Street from Pleasant to Stoner closed off to allow for bike parking and a support stop. And then if I may risk being greedy, the second ask would be block of Pleasant Street from 4th to Stoner, essentially. So that block in front of the distillery there. So a 2-part ask, one being the L-shaped section of 4th Street, and then the second one being one segment of Pleasant right there in front of the distillery. Any questions?
We would have to maintain access to the private property owners to their homes, but Chief Thomas, do you foresee issues? I don't see an issue with the 4th Street block, but from Pleasant 4th to Stoner.
How long are you talking and what's the route they're coming in?
Sure, good question. So the closure would be from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Give us a little bit of time to set up before the riders arrive, and then a little bit of time to break down after they arrive. So 8 to 3 would be the closure. Certainly would maintain access for the residents there. Andrew said, at least for the 4th Street section, they've done similar things in the past and hasn't been, I guess it doesn't affect that many residents. He said they've been okay with it in the past.
The issue is we've got a lot of construction going on.
For sure, yeah.
And I would recommend maybe, traffic control, maybe shut down the one lane and allow them some space there in front of Hartfield, but still, the traffic control maintained.
What about one lane there? We can do one lane because the bank's still at work and those folks are gonna be leaving. That's the only issue, really, unless you send them out the other way, but.
And we'd certainly be okay with, allowing local access, of course, to the bank and
We can
residents.
do some traffic control, it's not a problem for us, we'll take care of that side of it, but the route coming in
Yeah.
to that, what's where?
So it's a good question, and it's kind of convoluted because we have two routes coming in to kind of spread the number of riders throughout the day. So we have a medium route that will be coming in, and that one, let's see, that enters town on Clintonville. The idea would be to cross Main Street, keep folks off of Main Street with all the traffic from the construction. Come down Cypress. We love Main Street in the past, but obviously with the construction. So cross Main Street, hang a right on Cypress, and then a right on 12th, and then a left on Pleasant. So does that make sense from that perspective for the medium route?
It does, but yeah, it does. Well, that's a long way out though, and then coming back, I guess, so it's well. Just Close Street going all the way across? It does. It goes all the way across. It's on one side, actually.
And if 12th isn't an ideal option, it looks like I
That's
think
right in
5th and 7th might be another, or might be two others.
You coming in Clintonville, turn right on Main.
We were gonna cross Main.
They're gonna go down,
That's
go down
right.
Cypress. When you turn right on 12th Street, once you cross High, it's one way coming at you.
It is
Okay.
one way.
I would
So
go down
let's-
to 8. I mean,
Go down to 8.
That's gonna be job security.
8th Street probably is best.
Okay,
Maybe cut across.
all right.
Another thing I just want to bring up, because that Fourth Street parking lot, that is the one that we closed off a few weeks ago from, was it the Rotary? Kiwanis.
Yes.
And now there was a big deal about the fact, and that was last minute, but I know Dr. Christopher Gast was very upset because he had not been told and needed some parking spots for his patients.
Yes, ma'am.
So that would be an issue too. We probably need a few spots.
Yeah, I don't think we're asking to close that.
Okay, I thought that was that Fourth Street parking.
No,
It's
it's
just real Street. He's talking about Fourth
Okay,
Street.
all right.
not that parking lot between Main and Howell.
I would
Remain
suggest though, anytime we do something like this, we do need to take out flyers to all the downtown businesses so they're aware, at least like a week in advance.
And that's what I think people get in and then. But I think we can if you work with Chief Thomas on your routes and maintaining, I don't think this will be an issue. We just need to do it as safe as possible.
Okay.
And now, where was it again that you wanted them to park while they're at Bourbon Burn?
Sure,
Or
actually,
at Hartfield and Company?
yeah, sure. In those closed off sections. So ideally that portion of 4th Street, and we have bike racks that we bring on site and set up. And so there'd be appropriate places for them to place their bikes while they're visiting the distillery. That makes sense.
Right, you've heard the presentation. What is the wishes of the commission? Got a motion from Mr. Brooks.
One second.
And a second from Mr. Galbraith. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Galbraith,
Yes, ma'am?
Commissioner Gibson,
Yes.
Mayor Plummer,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts. Motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Any contact?
Now we have a request from Fancy Flamingos to the
Oh.
parking lot closure request.
Yes. And, I am almost positive she wants half. Do you know for sure, Myron?
I don't.
Okay, I'm pretty sure it's just half of the parking lot, between what was McDahlia's and the computer store. I think the one closest to her store. And she wants to have, a food truck and some maybe booths and things. And, so it wouldn't be, I'm almost positive it's not the entire parking lot, but that half, just to kind of have, a year anniversary kind of celebration.
And that's what she reached out to me a while back, that she'd been in business for at least a year and wanted to do this celebration. And I informed her, typically these requests for closures a lot come before the commission. Time was of the essence, I think.
She wanted it last week, yeah, it was just too quick.
So anyway, that's the request. I think we can do this with help with the police department blocking that off. That we have what we refer to as the Fifth Street lot for a celebration for Fancy Flamingo Boutique.
And right at the moment, her date that she's looking at is August 25th.
What's the pleasure of the commission? So, a motion by Mr. Brooks, second by Ms. Roberts. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gibson,
Yes.
Mayor Plummer,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts, Commissioner Galbraith.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion carries.
Okay, well, please be down there also, supposed to be left open, you go in this way, not the exit.
They will have to be there to help
We'll
maintain.
be there. Both of
I
us.
figured she'd be out on top of you.
All right. Next, we have on the agenda the curbside solid waste and recycling. We have representative from Rumpke. If you all would come forward, please.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Frances. I'm the representative for the city of Paris for Rumpke. I take care of the contracts and the service and that kind of thing. So, and this is Tyler Rumpke is our operations manager, and this is Richard. He's our residential manager. He takes care of the drivers, making sure that the routing and everything is done correctly.
Sort of like a bouncer.
Yes, yes, very much so, very much so.
That's right.
So Francis, our contract was for 3 years. We know that at the end of November, this current contract goes away. I think there's a provision in the contract that we could renew or it was the wish of the commission to have you here to voice some concerns, some ongoing issues and problems. Okay. So, anybody want to jump in first?
I'll start.
Go ahead.
Okay. Personally, in my neighborhood, me personally, when it is trash day, I come home to the trash receptacle along with the recycling bin in the middle of my driveway. So I have to get out to move all of that to get in my garage. When it is raining, the trash receptacle top is left open, so I come into lots of rain in my trash can and all over my recycling bin. So that's my concern. And then along with, milk cartons left on the sidewalk and things like that. So, and then also my neighbors have had several concerns with trash some days not being picked up, or all the way there's trash left in their trash receptacle. That's happened to me 3 times, along with other neighbors. So that's just some of, in the neighborhood that I'm in, my concerns.
Do you mind telling me your
I'm
neighborhood?
on Cross Creek.
Cross Creek, okay.
Cross Creek Drive.
And I've had the same thing, again, you get ready to back out of your driveway and there's the,
Right,
and so then
and,
you gotta get out, get them, and then like a breadcrumb trail of
right.
pieces of recycling for 6 feet or so.
So, there's no excuse for that. We want to put the trash cans back where they are set out, and we're not supposed to leave anything on the ground. But, with that, there are several things. I know I follow drivers around personally early in the mornings to kind of make sure things are kind of kept clean and they are picking up after themselves. Sometimes it's extremely early in the morning and not everything is seen. And I witnessed that with my own 2 eyes. And, they're dealing with cars coming back and stuff. We do want them to pick up anything that falls out. And that is something this man over here will absolutely address with the drivers. If we know about it, if somebody gives us a call, I know we address it directly with the drivers. As far as the cans being open, that's a really big double-edged sword. So we run into the issues of if the cans are closed, the lids are closed on the cans, we get people see the lids closed and automatically assume that their trash hasn't been serviced. So we get the call that the trash has been missed, we send somebody back out, and it's just that the lid is closed. So I don't think there's a perfect solution to that. I'm not for sure if we could have them watch the weather report, and if it's gonna rain, keep it closed. It's, we want people to see that their garbage has been serviced, so.
What about the recycle bins that don't have lids? Because that's always my concern. You have a recycle bin that has paper and cardboard, and it's pouring the rain, and then it's all soaked.
Right.
So then does that just get put in trash, or?
No, if it's in a recycle bin, it's in a bin that's properly labeled recycling, whether it's a bin or a cart, it goes into a separate truck from the trash. In the store. That's the rule.
It doesn't matter if it's wet.
No.
Because in the past, we have had bins that have lids.
Right. And that's something that you can get from us is a cart with a lid, a 65-gallon cart. But the bins, no. If it's in a bin, it goes into the recycling truck. The trash truck is not supposed to pick those up unless it's full of items that can't be recycled and they've communicated with each other, that kind of thing. So, I know the entire country is going through a workforce issue. We're going through that as well. We're very fortunate. We're fully staffed. But with that, we have new employees going from route to route to route, training, them getting on the road on their own, that kind of thing. So we want to know about the issues so we can properly make sure they're communicated well with what the standards are. So at any time, feel free to call if there's issues like that. I know we've gotten calls about certain streets, the cans being out, not put back properly, and he addresses that directly with the drivers. And then the next week I'll go and look and they're put back. So as long as we
I would
know.
have to say one of the biggest, I've only been here 7 months, but one of the biggest complaints I get is trash right and recycling. And generally we will say, okay, we knew we were gonna have a meeting coming up, okay, we're gonna address your concern. But, and I noticed that recently, we have gotten surveys like by email. So what, have you gotten the results back from those surveys?
I've not gotten any communication. I can tell you that I ran a report.
About a month, I think, ago.
I've not received anything. The only thing I did that I could do was run a report of the calls that we received in our office for misses or complaints. Mostly, I can tell you, it's misses. But with the amount of customers that the city of Paris has, which currently it is 3,098, that's residential curbside customers. Our highest month in the past 6 months of misses was 51, and that's for an entire month. So that's 51 misses in an entire month of servicing close to 3,100 residents a week. And that's just on trash. Then there's an additional trucks that come through for recycling customers as well. So pretty close to maybe even double of the amount of stops for residents. And I always tell everybody, we can't fix it if we don't know about it. If we know about it, we can fix it. There's a way of fixing it. So,
for instance, that was an issue early on. I think to somewhat we resolved it, that to contact you, could you give the commissioners your
yes,
contact
absolutely.
information? Because what was happening early on was it was going to a customer center maybe in Cincinnati or somewhere, and there was a breakdown. And I think we've addressed that, but I think if they had your contact.
Right. I'm local, they're not. So it helps a little bit if you know the area and what people are asking for. So if those kind of issues are happening, have them call me directly.
So what's the issue with the misses, even though there's 51 and they were missed? What's the issue?
Well, it's a twofold thing. Either it is a driver issue as far as it didn't show up on the route sheet correctly, it's not routed correctly, that kind of thing. Or I know one of the issues that we have in the city of Paris is this is the only city that we have in our entire service area of Northern Kentucky in this area that is what we call subscription. That means only the customers that want trash service pay for trash service. So while in other cities, we go into a city and we pick up everything that's sitting out. So we rely on the drivers to read these route sheets and not pick up things that are sitting out that people aren't paying for, and vice versa. So sometimes that gets a little convoluted and jumbled in situations like that. This neighbor might be sticking their can over next to this person who's paying, or they're putting their trash out with. So maybe this can technically belongs to this house, but he's grabbing this can. You know, it's a difficult situation. So I believe that may be a good portion of the misses.
But
And also,
explain why are we just a subscription? Because if every other city, you have a contract to pick up all trash.
correct.
Which seems like that would correct the issues with Sharon, Fields that she's constantly calling about vacant lots that have, trash in it. I thought when we were the city of Paris trash, that everybody had to have trash pickup because it was on your electric bill. Am I wrong?
We, for years, it was required if you had utilities, water, sewer, electric with the city of Paris, you were required to subscribe to trash. When we got out of the business, that was part of the contract.
Well, and I think it's more of a billing, right?
Yes,
So in many other cities, those cities pay you.
correct.
Whereas here, so people aren't alleviated from still requiring to pay for trash.
Well, why didn't we opt to do that? Still collect the money and then,
I think it's more expensive.
you'd almost think it would be
on-
less because you're getting everybody.
On our end, I'm not for sure what expensive on our end as far as your rates are going to be based upon several factors, and that isn't one of the factors, is X number amount of residents, and we're not cutting off or chasing somebody down, and we're only billing one person
Right.
or one entity instead of
Right.
4,000. So
So wouldn't that
it would help.
be a less
Yes,
cost?
it would help on the rates per month, yes.
So why don't we ask for that? Because, and then it goes back to the billing like it used to on our own. Because if it's gonna cost less money, and then we're requiring that everybody have it, just like we did before, that makes more sense. Because there shouldn't be anybody, just like I've got a friend who called me that her neighbor has lived there maybe 3 years, probably the whole time of service, and she sees them taking their trash to a dumpster at the park.
Yes, and actually put a dumpster free at the park to eliminate issues
Yes.
that a park was having of a street bringing their trash over to the park and just setting it out in bags.
Exactly.
So I put a dumpster over there just so it was unsightly, and got a service.
And another person contacted me, their father has died, they're cleaning out the house, so they got a dumpster. Now people are putting sofas and things like that inside that dumpster that they're having to pay for.
Right. I think it would help keep City of Paris cleaner. I think it would help if you guys do decide to renew with Rumpke. There are different things that we would look at on the renewal, that would help on the rates.
I think you're correct, and that is going to be a negotiating point when we get further in the contract. That is.
I don't have a city to compare Paris to as far as on the billing situation, but I do have cities that we service the entire city, and the misses are less than half of what the city of Paris is. So I think that would help a lot. As far as the open carts and cans in the street, please let us know, we'll address it. But our drivers are aware to put them back where they get from. Do they get in a hurry sometimes, as we all do? Absolutely. So, but we do want them to put them back where
At
they
the
should.
end of the day, it's about customer satisfaction.
Right, correct.
Well, and it sounds to me like, there would be a whole lot more, I would definitely like to look at the pricing for the entire city. We collect the money, and therefore, on the bottom of that bill, if you have problems, call this number.
Right.
And, that would take it out of, 500 phone calls. Well, they missed my trash today, or
Well,
they
and
did this, or they did that.
that's something that the three of us have also worked on. Tyler's operations and Richard's residential is with of course, Paris isn't the only city I help take care of. So if all 4,000 residents called me directly, I might be a little overwhelmed. But with our customer service department, we've discussed working with them. If it's just a simple issue of my trash didn't get picked up, of course, word dispatcher will be there within 24 to 48 hours to pick it up. If it's something more, to communicate with us, to shoot us an email, if it's more than that, and let me contact them, or let one of
Well,
us.
that could be on there as well.
Correct.
And again, you've got 50 misses, I'm sure they weren't all in one day, right?
No, that was, 4.33 Thursdays in the city of
Yeah.
Paris, and that is also, again, recycling and commercial stuff, because we also service commercial head stops. I know when we took this over in 2018, we had 3,693 residents. We currently have 3,081. So, I don't know what the
And those houses are good.
home count is now, but
So what's your contact information?
it's 859-227-1885, and I'll give you a card before I walk out.
So if memory, I'm jogging my memory here as long as it's helped me. If there's been a loss of around 600, I think that's why the city in 2008, and you all can change your mind, obviously, but I think that's why in 2018, the city didn't want to pay it because in essence, you all would be picking up 600 additional places, charging the city for that. In essence, the city is subsidizing that trash pickup. So I think the conversations in 2018 went that route, so the city wasn't.
I wasn't in on that, but
People not collecting. Is that ring a
That's
bell?
exactly right. And to be honest, as far as utilities in general, there's at least 100 and rising up individuals that don't pay their bills a month.
But not 600.
No, it varies from 100 to, Brad, you probably know those numbers.
But they do have to pay eventually. Or they get cut off.
But then when you cut off the trash, that's what's causing the business.
so
Because that's kind of.
is it on their water bill?
It was always on, the trash pickup when it was in the city, when it was taken care of by the city of Paris. That trash pickup was also on that utility bill, and that's electric and water.
I know there's different ways with different cities that we do this. We get paid gross collections, or there's different options on that. It doesn't have to be you pay for 3,700 residents, end of story. There's different things that can be worked out through that, with that.
So when we do the negotiations, then can we see all these options?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
One of the things that I had thought about, I think, don't you all pick up in Bourbon County and then in the city of Millersburg and maybe in North Middletown also?
That is correct.
So you have, basically, you're covering the whole county.
The entire county,
And
yes.
the thing that I had thought about was there a way for, let's say the city of Paris and Bourbon County particularly, to try to tie our agreements or our contracts or whatever you want to, whatever you franchise or whatever you want to call it, see if we could tie that together and then try to look at renewals and perhaps get a better rate for maybe everybody in Bourbon County and things like that, because you all already, as I said, going in Millersburg and
Right.
Middletown.
And that's something, yes, that's something, we have a contract with Bourbon County and then a contract with the city of Millersburg.
Do you do North Middletown?
I think North Middletown is considered part of the Bourbon County contract. So
Okay.
they're actually they
so
just
you're
merged kind of.
You're picking up
Yes.
trash for everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
And that is something we could definitely look at. There's some benefits and not some good.
Yeah, I don't know, again,
but yeah, that's absolutely something.
Follow up with kind of what Holly's saying. That
Right.
I think we need to think maybe out of the box or think about different ways, and if, we could improve service, because it's my understanding in Bourbon County, you don't have recycling.
That is correct.
That's not an option. And
That
is
is
there
correct.
a way to maybe, and
Offer
I know
it.
people that, again, know plenty of people that live
Right.
out in the county, and they're bringing their recycling either here, they take those that live on, let's say, on Winchester side, they take it to Winchester, and they take it to other places that are actually doing recycling.
Right, and there's so many factors going into that, it would be a good idea to take a look at everything. How it's gonna benefit each individual, the county, the city,
Right.
and what recycling would cost for people who live in rural areas and that kind of thing.
Right.
So it would be, yes, it's
I
absolutely
don't know.
something that
It's
we
just-
could work on.
Particularly when it's not been that long ago that I think you all picked up Millersburg.
Yes, we still do, yeah.
Yes, I know, but it seemed like it's been fairly recent or something. Maybe
Yeah,
I
I
saw
believe-
the article in the paper and kind of.
We just recently renewed with the city
Yeah,
of
there you go.
Millersburg,
That's
yeah,
good.
and I believe this was our first renewal since
Okay.
servicing them, so.
Well, Francis, thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you all.
There will be more discussions to come, I foresee, as we get closer to the November.
Okay. And if anybody has any questions, I kind of broke Paris down and put it on a spreadsheet and kind of seen what we could do here to make everybody happy with their service that they have, so that is our goal.
That's all that service. Thanks.
Okay, just
Thank
to
you.
deviate a little bit from the agenda, we have on here a discussion of the park recreation complex, and we do have the judge and Mr. Alverson in here in an effort to try to get you all back to your jobs. If you want to come forward, we'll.
Jill's my security.
In the last couple of weeks.
It ought to be the other way around.
We've had
I don't have a job.
One of them was at the park, where some of you already tonight, and then we had a meeting the other day at the courthouse. A lot of good things happening. Judge, I'll let you just give a quick overview maybe of the project.
Well, it's a long history. Thank you, Mike. We've been working on a variation of a plan to develop a recreation complex for right at 6 years now. And as you know, everyone knows, the fiscal court's purchased property on Millersburg Road, 329 acres. You have the map there of the master plan. CMW Architects has developed a master plan for a recreation complex. Involves baseball, softball fields, soccer fields, an amphitheater, cross-country course, walking trails, tennis courts, basketball courts, pickleball courts, along with the parking associated with that. That would cover probably around 2/3 of the property. The intent is to develop other parts of the property for more agricultural-based activities, venues for competition like horse shows and those kinds of things. But the recreation complex, the competitive venues are the priority right now, along with passive venues. The amphitheater, I keep saying is my favorite part of it, because that's the one that's for the old folks.
For those that would, excuse me, for those that would be attending the 60s, 60s music, yeah, understand.
Everybody that's going to Betty Ann's event
Yes.
with the life amphitheater. We can have that event at the amphitheater.
That's right, there you go.
There you go. So we, again, we partnered with CMW to do the design and counseling regarding the development of the property. They projected a cost for the development of this particular part of the property, and it is an estimate. It is not a detailed cost, and we shared that at our meeting last week. Brad Boaz, in particular, is the individual at CMW that's been doing the development work. Has done a great job, and as you know, Brad has a connection to Bourbon County and is very passionate about this, as CMW has been throughout the process. They have been involved for the full 6 years, so they're very familiar with what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. Purchase of the land was a big step for us. We closed on this property. It'll be 2 years
December 17th. Went through the bonding process to do that, and basically have been allowing the land to be used by, from that point, for the Future Farmers of America chapters in both Bergen County High School and Paris High School. We've also already had athletic events at the property, in particular cross-country events. We've had the KHSAA state championship for cross-country last fall was held there. There were 3 national cross-country events. We had runners, participants from 48 states that participated in those events. Runners from every county in this state participated in the state championship. So we've had some limited success already in attracting people to Bergen County. And keep in mind that, as you all know, the motivation is twofold. One is economic development and the impact to business here in Bergen County, but the other 50% is for quality of life impact for Bergen County citizens, folks that live here. We historically, in our community, throughout the county, including Paris, have had park properties that have had a limited reach. We've got some properties that are in the floodplain. We know that, and we've dealt with that. All of us have throughout our lives, and so that's part of our motivation to try to move away from properties that are susceptible to flooding, for sure. But we also want to attract other people to Bergen County, and to, when they come to Bergen County, to bring their money with them and spend it here. We want the shops and the stores and the restaurants to be full, and we've looked at other communities that have done similar things. The closest one to Bergen County is Elizabethtown. Their park has been very successful in the economic impact. We had shared, I guess, the meeting out at the park a few weeks ago that their economic impact study indicated they're bringing in $12 to $13 million a year in the community just from folks that are coming from outside of Nelson County to events there to participate in tournaments. They, for example, hold multi-team tournaments 42 weeks out of the year at that facility, and that would be our goal, to have that kind of activity. But again, along with that, the use of the facilities, folks that live here in Bergen County. So everyone in the community, and the intent in the design has always been to have something for everyone, not just elementary school or high school kids, but everyone, whether you're 80 or 12, right, that you have a reason to go to the park and enjoy the property, because that property doesn't indeed belong to everybody in Bergen County, as with Fiscal Court as the owner, certainly, and the facilities as they're developed would be the same. We're at a point where in the planning process, we put together a planning group. We tried to bring together folks from diverse backgrounds and experiences and current activities into one group, and Mr. Alverson has done a great job in chairing that committee. We've worked with Brad Boaz and folks at CMW to come up with a master plan, as you had seen on your screen earlier. We feel like we're ready to take another step, and that step is to start some actual development. We have a cost, an overall cost for the master plan. We've broken it out in different phases, which has always been the approach. And we've also taken some steps to determine how we might pay for development of this property, which is the question that we always come to, right? The expectation has always been that we would through the bonding process, partially pay for the property. We would have an expectation that folks would be willing to contribute resources to the development of this property. The Planning Committee has taken the step, and the Fiscal Court has entered into an agreement with the Bluegrass Community Foundation to give people an opportunity to contribute to this park. And if you go to the website, you can find the Bourbon County Park is a charity you can contribute to and take it off your taxes. So if anyone wants to make $1 million donation, it's ready for you to take it off your taxes. That's all you have to do. And that agreement is in place, and we're ready to do that. It's a very practical thing to do. There's a small fee the Bluegrass Community Foundation accepts in order to manage that for us. But it gives folks an opportunity to do that. You know, a year ago or 6 months ago, if someone wanted to give us $10 million to develop the property, they couldn't take that off their taxes. Now they can. So that's a pretty good incentive for some folks that have those kinds of resources. So we have an expectation that as with each step we take, that people will be more and more open to doing that. It's done in other communities. It's been proven in other communities when you demonstrate that you're serious about developing these kinds of properties, that folks will contribute and they will invest in their community. And we all know that Harrison Bourbon County is very fortunate to have a lot of resources, private resources available. So we're looking forward to that. We also will be very vigorous in getting folks involved in directing us related to federal and state grants. And most grant money, as we know, is actually federal dollars. Sometimes the state of Kentucky administers them and manages that. But so the financing approach is three-pronged. We're going to pay for some ourselves. Folks are going to donate money and contribute to it, and we're going to reach out to the federal government for development funds. And that money is out there. There's every indication that the American Rescue Plan Act funds can be used for tourism, recreation, development. So we're considering that. There's certainly every indication. We know for certain that those funds can be used for things like sanitary sewer development and drinking water infrastructure. We know that, so there's those kinds of things are going on. And we have every expectation that legislation is going to continue to come from Congress that will give us an opportunity to take advantage of some grant funding. The Fiscal Court at some point very soon will enter into an agreement with a company called Sustainable Strategies, who we involved with our efforts in our application for the build grant process to renovate US 460. This is a company that's based in Washington. Actually, if you look out their office windows, you see the front Capitol steps. They're that involved. This is what they do for a living. They determine how communities can take advantage of the funds available from the various cabinets in the federal government. So we're very comfortable with their support and studies, and they've actually helped us in economic development activity already in the EDA environment. So we're very comfortable that will be a worthwhile investment. But where we are, as I said earlier, where we are is we're ready to have a bulldozer on the property and be moving some dirt, so to speak. So what we had shared in last week's meeting was that the Fiscal Court's intent right now is to take a step to enter into an agreement with the Kentucky Association of Counties Financial Planners to start to guide us through the bonding process to develop some portion of the master plan. A combination, most likely a combination at least of phases 1 and 2. And I don't know if you have a picture of that or that particular picture. It's basically, it's as we shared last week and in the previous meeting, it's all the excavation of the property, plus the development of the driveway into the property, the water and sewer infrastructure, actually developing the cross-country course, the amphitheater, and some, the first clover leaf of the baseball, softball venue, So it's to have that presence, and indeed, when I say all the excavation, it's literally all the excavation of the master plan. So we do the excavation for all the tennis courts, all the soccer fields, the multi-purpose field, the championship field, as Brad calls it, the baseball, softball fields, cross-country course, actually build the amphitheater and do the excavation for that. So a lot of very visible activity, and obviously it's not, as Mr. Boaz has shared with us, it's not the most attractive, it's not the most passionate part of the process, but with any major project, you've got to invest in the infrastructure first. You've got to do the excavation. One of the examples he had shared with us in one of the planning meetings, I guess a couple of months ago, was this project that Baptist Health has going on out in the Hamburg area, where they had 35 bulldozers, I think, one day operating on 25 acres, and they refer to things like that as a major operation. Well, there's an expectation that a project this size will attract attention from contractors from all over the country, because this is a significant piece of work. The indication from Mr. Boaz was that once we make the decision to take that step, it would take probably 3 months to do the detailed planning. What architects do, their thing, whatever that is, and get us ready for a contractor to be able to look at a plan and say, this is exactly what I need to do. We'd obviously go through the procurement process to secure a contractor. Prior to that, we would, the advice is to hire a construction manager to be involved in that detailed planning. So we would certainly do that. And construction manager role is a professional service, so you wouldn't have to go through the procurement process to secure that type of support, but you can do that. But basically, we would be ready for, we could within 3 to 4 months be ready to start construction, which is estimated to take a year to 18 months for phases 1 and 2. So theoretically, next spring, you could be excavating on the property. So the fiscal court has certainly been very passionate about it, and we have the support of the court members to move forward with it and to make that investment to get started and to demonstrate to the community that this is going to happen. Right, folks have, we bought the property, and folks have seen that we've had 40,000 people there for cross-country meets and those kinds of things, but we haven't moved any dirt yet, right? We haven't demonstrated that there's something going to be built there. We have agreements with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet and TTI Railroad Services for entrances into the property and for safe passage across the railroad tracks. All those things are in place. We've done preliminary environmental impact studies to be assured that there's nothing on the land that would prevent us from developing the property, from starting the excavation. There are no cemeteries, or there's no buried gasoline tanks, or those kinds of things, right, that pop up and cause delays in projects. All of that has been determined. We've done core drillings to determine the depth of the rock shelf on the property, which is part of how they determine the estimates regarding cost of excavation. It's indicated to us, I'm not an expert, but there are folks here that are, it's indicated to us that this land in particular is ideal for development for an excavation project because of the way it lays and how deep the rock formations are and those kinds of things. So all of that has been done. We're ready to take that next step. We've proven, we've been able to demonstrate that this park can be developed on this property, and we're ready to do that. It is the fiscal court's most intense desire for the city of Paris to be partners with us in this property. always has been, and it always will be, as I shared last week. So we're prepared. We're going to have on our agenda Thursday night, again, a recommendation to enter into an agreement with KCO to start the bonding process. Now, at that point, on the agenda, we don't have to say this is for how much money, right? As we talked about in our joint meetings previously, we mentioned that phases 1 and 2, or we combine them together into one phase, could approach close to $20 million. It's actually going to be something less than that if you look at the detailed costing, and I assume you all have that.
Yes, we do.
It's not actually that much. It would be something under that, but that would, as I said earlier, that would give us those an indication, all the excavation and all the preliminary work, and the cross-country courses, the baseball fields, tennis courts, the amphitheater, all those things, to have a presence already, and have a presence relatively soon. Kentucky Association of Counties staff had also shared with us what debt service would cost if we borrow $20 million, and we can obviously, you can make that number whatever you want it to be. But the projected cost of the project is right just a little over $39 million of the overall development of the property. Fiscal court doesn't have the capacity, obviously, to bond that much expense, nor would we do that. But some portion of that to get us started is what we're thinking. So we'll take that step Thursday to enter into that agreement. That's the process, and I assume y'all have a similar process with Kentucky League of Cities, perhaps, where if you want them to work with you on a bonding process, that you would pass a resolution and the mayor would sign an agreement saying they're going to provide this service for you. And they're not, as Mr. Satterley shared with us at the meeting last week, they're literally only going to provide financial guidance on how to get through the bonding process. They're not going to tell us how to build the park. They're not going to get involved in any details about the design of the park or anything like that. They're literally going to come on board simply for the effort to guide us through the appropriate steps to bond some amount of money, depending on how much the court is comfortable that we can afford. But our appeal, again, is that we very much would like for the city of Paris to be involved with us and partnering with the fiscal court. This is for all of the community, and as I shared, every time we've had a chance to meet, we have every expectation, and our goal, fiscal court's goal, is for this park to be in the city limits of Paris. Assuming that will be advantageous for the city in every way, not only for the city government, but for the residents. It will help us in the grant application process. I assure you that makes a difference when the property is within the city limits of an incorporated city. That's part of what they look at for sure. So we're ready to get started, and we very much would love for the city commission to be partners with us. We want that, and we think that's the right thing for everybody in this community. Everybody that lives within the boundaries of Bourbon County, this property belongs to all of us. We want it in the city limits, we want the city government. Obviously, the resources of the city government is important, right? If you can partner in any kind of endeavor, whether it's a private investment or whatever it might be, if we have you as a partner, things will be much simpler. It'll be a challenge, no question about it, but it would be a lot better, a whole lot easier to do it that way than to go alone. As I've shared also, don't think of this as an ultimatum. We are going to take the step Thursday. We are going to start that process. And the city can get on board anywhere in that process you choose to. All you have to do is say, this is what we would like to do. So we would look to you to share with the fiscal court what you feel like you would like to do and how you would like to be involved. I'm not making any demands, I'm not saying this is what it has to be, this is the only way it'll work, but tell us how you would like to be involved in this project. This project is going to happen as long as we can keep moving forward. You never know what the future holds, we know that. A year from now or 2 years from now, whatever the case may be, but right now, all the indications are that we can move forward and take the next step. So,
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate that overview. I'm sure there's many questions. Let's start.
Yes, sir. I'll start. Personally, I do know that I want the city to be a partner in this thing, Judge. Believe you me, we do. Is there an option, let's say, maybe that's not the correct word, is there an option to where we are undertaking, as we've talked before, we do have Joe LaKafka, who is through Ross Sinclair, and he's act as our advisor on projects in the past and things like that. And he's undertaking a program right now based upon our finances for the last 3 or 4 years, based upon our audited financial statements and things, to look at what our bonding capacity will be. Because right now, we've got, I think, bonding and loans outstanding of we've got about $6 million borrowed right now. And that's a combination of loans, and some of that's on loans through banks, local banks and things, and then the other is long-term bonds that we've done.
Right.
So we're trying to determine, let's say, what we can do internally. What can we bond? What's our maximum to bond? And then, as I talked about at last week's meeting, we've also undertaken 2 projects with wastewater and with water, we've got some real issues there. We've got some real problems there. And is there a way that before this thing, I don't say not gets too far down the road, it's maybe the wrong terminology, but can we get Grant and Joe maybe together after because it's my impression that Joe's going to have some information available and would come to the 24th meeting. The next time we meet is 2 weeks from today. So he would be coming forth with us with some updated numbers and looking at all of our financials and things like that in the past to say, okay, here's where we see your all's bonding capacity based upon your current rates and things of that nature. Because again, some of the things that we see out there on water and wastewater, in order to get some of these projects accomplished, there could be, rate increases. There could be some other things that would be in the picture further down the road, but that's something that we as a commission would have to decide how we want to do this. And then coupled with each one of those projects that we've got through HMB and Strand, they've given us like high priority items, medium priority items, and low priority items. And the thing that it's my impression we need to really look at is we need to look at those high priority items. And again, one of the things that we've shared in mutual meetings and things is our water loss ratio, 30%. So to me, that's one of the things that we've got to fix and things. And then the other day, we talked about that the numbers that are here do not include getting the water and the sewer out to the park. And, and again, each one of those are identified with Strand and HMB are projects that we've included, let's say in our future bonding that would be out there. And those two things in round numbers are about $4.5 million to get the water. And that would be to get the water, a 10-inch water line, get the sewer out there, and it would be to build a million gallon water tank out on the property, which would only enhance the property and only enhance everybody in that part of Bourbon County.
Development
Yes,
further up.
again, coming back to quality of life and, economic development and things like that. So, again, I want us to be able to partner and be a partner in this thing, but I don't know how, I'm trying to search for the word, how to say that. How I think we can partner with you, but we can't, I don't know that we can get you an answer, you know, I'm just saying, I personally want to partner with you, but now at what dollar and what extent and things like that, because to me, some of these gaps we got to fill are some projects that we've got to take care of. And then this is on our list also. But again, we got to get the water out there and got to get the sewer out there. And to me, that's some of the projects, that's part of the projects that we can bond.
We also don't want to be a detriment to you.
No, we
If our
don't, no.
conditional analysis comes in that we might not be a good partner to partner with, it could affect your bonding capacity.
Brad can talk to that, I think, though.
Well, not specifically at this time. I mean, yesterday was the first time I had a chance to talk to Joe and start getting information, run through numbers. I mean, I'm kind of done looking at the cost part of this. I mean, it is what it is. You know, the things I want to, you know, start looking at is, okay, as Bluegrass Community Foundation put a projection together of what we can raise, you know, along that part to help both county and city potentially reduce their investments in this. You know, Stan, I know you talked about infrastructure improvements. I mean, obviously that's going to come with a rate increase, you know, for our users and those kind of things. Is, you know, some kind of a study been put out there to look at a tax to help pay for this, you know, park project as well too. So, I mean, you know, I'm open to, don't shut the door on this period, because I think there's so much benefits that are out there. I think everybody's just kind of focusing on the cost at this point in time, and maybe, you know, not having that sticker shock on it, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, we're working on getting the numbers together. I know we've got a little workshop later on. I've got some handouts for, you know, that part. So, but I think there's some other things to look, you know, kind of moving forward too, you know, to work with Bill on as far as the community foundation. And obviously, I think so too. I think this infrastructure bill, it's just going to get about ready to get passed. There's probably going to be a lot of money in that. So, potential. And how much did we get for that 460 project?
$10.3 million.
Yeah, so I mean, that could probably be about a minimum amount that we could get from the federal government for this project. You know, so I mean, there's a lot of options and other opportunities that are out there. I don't know if that's necessary, and maybe that's part of getting into the CAECO, you know, financing and look at some of those as far as the bonding requirements and those kind of things as well, that I think are some good numbers to start sharing with people. Or if they haven't been, you know, I'll help out getting some of those numbers around as well too, just so that people kind of know and that. So
I think too, one thing that maybe Wallace and you haven't heard yet is the EDA they're also looking into having the EDA bonded for this project.
There's, again, the folks at CAECO, Brad Satterley and RJ Palmer, Compass have done some investigation. There is precedence in Kentucky where a joint entity like our Economic Development Authority could bond the money and not impact either the county or city's bonding capacity. In other words, the money would go through the Economic Development Authority. They would be the folks that initiated the application and not impact your ability to borrow money for other projects.
but it would, but on that part though too, we would need to look at it, because there's two parts of that. It's the ability to bond, which I know we have like X amount almost every year, but then also looking at the debt service. Because I would assume that if EDA does that, then we would be looking at some kind of a lease payment back to EDA to help cover those bonds, which then, you know, kind of works on our debt service. But then again, you know, I think it does kind of come down to, okay, now start looking at the revenue, you know, side of, you know, what we think Bluegrass Community could help raise through donations and those kind of things, and looking at some grant projections as well. Because who knows, I mean, a $40 million project might come down to where it's 15 million split between the two entities, and
certainly
would turn that
potential for
down.
that.
Yeah.
The issue is the timing. Part of the issue is the timing. There's every indication, and all you bankers here can can weigh in on that there's not a better time in the bonding market as far as interest rate right now. Although we keep saying that, and I saw something in the news, I guess, yesterday, that interest rates had dropped again. Bad. So it's pretty cheap money for, I think they have a better way to say that. You got to pay it back, but there's a very small fluctuation in interest rates can make a huge impact on debt service, for sure. We know that. We had some great rates when we purchased the property, we thought, and the rates are about half what they were when we purchased the property. Now, so, who knows what the market's going to do, but there's also an indication that sometime no later, probably in 2023, those rates are going to start going back up as a result of the effect of the inflation that's going on right now. So time is of the essence. We're not, I mean, there's not a deadline, there's not a rush, but the timing is good to trying to find some resources. That's one of the factors.
It looks to me like there's definitely interest here. We have engaged Joe LaCosta in doing cash analysis. Brad's working on this. I think there's interest here to move forward. We just can't commit to a number right this minute. As soon as we get the analysis and more information in, I'll be in touch with you and let you know. But I don't want to speak for everybody here. Is there anybody that's definitely against this?
But what would you like? Would you like a resolution saying to take back to fiscal court that yes, we definitely want to partner?
That certainly is helpful, right? That's it's a commitment without being a commitment, right? You're not guaranteeing anything, but it's a gesture to say we have every intention, if possible, in some way, to be a part of the project in whatever way you can. And again, I don't expect to have a number today. I have to take to the fiscal court meeting Thursday night and say this is what the city committed to. That's not what I'm asking for, but a gesture, a public declaration that your intent, if possible, is to be involved. Is that reasonable?
Yes. I'd like to make that resolution. Yes, our intent is to look into every avenue to commit to partnering with the fiscal court on this project.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to resolve. Mr. Bowman, could you maybe word that?
So, there's a possibility that.
I like all these possibilities.
We're not creating a legal partnership between the city and the county.
No.
So, we want to be a participant in this project, and we will explore all potential avenues for funding to be determined date and amount.
Certainly it's reasonable.
I'm not sure city and county can actually become a legal partnership anyway.
I'm sure.
We did that.
I think we are governmental partners.
So we have a motion on the floor for a resolution. Let's get a second before we discuss.
I'll wait, certainly, to do that, but there's one other point I'd like to make after you.
Is there a second?
I don't want to stop this.
Okay, we have a second. Commissioner Roberts. Discussion now.
I was just going to share, Bill can share some information regarding what our potential is with other fundraising efforts and really related to grant application process and the Grass Community Foundation. Mr. Allison, share.
Well, I'll be real brief, Judge, but what encouraged me is when a while back you all did a resolution for us to get a couple of grants applications in. Really appreciate that. And part of that is you need to get community support letters. And all I can tell you is this, that the support was phenomenal from all walks of life, from those that maybe you didn't think would see that point to those that obviously saw the point. Thoroughbred horse farms, manufacturers, folks within the community, and the way the work was done is folks who didn't sign it. You know, if we'd had another week or 2 weeks, we could have had 200 letters, but I think we had close to 100 for each application. So I know the support's out there. Folks won't lend you their name. And the banks, Wallace's Bank supported it, Fifth Third Bank, Mary Alicia Weldon, Mary Alicia Farah, who's from Nicholas County, signed the letter on behalf of Fifth Third Bank. Obviously, Traditional Bank was on board, Bluegrass Federal. So, you know, I see this as a community effort, and in order to make things successful in the community, you want the community for it. And capital campaign would be, you know, to raise X amount of dollars, that to be determined what we think we could do. And then the gifts that people would give, that's where the Bluegrass Community Foundation comes in. If they're able to set up various types of accounts for long-term benefit for the park, for short-term support financially for the infrastructure, but that's where it would become tax deductible. And they have legal folks on hand to advise some of the folks that might want to give various, other than write a check, they might want to donate this unique way of contributing. They might want to donate some of their stock, like bank stock or inherited stock, and they get a major deduction on that. So there's a lot of opportunities. I'm encouraged, just want to let you all know that, because of so many people that from all walks of life that have joined in to support the effort. So I'll be involved in raising private funds to the extent that we can hit some goals that the judge and you all would think would be reasonable to obtain. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Any more discussion on this resolution?
The only thing is, you mentioned sustainable solutions out of Atlanta and things.
Sustainable strategies.
Sustainable
Yes,
strategies, yes. And
About
he's done really a good job. We've been able to use him through EDA on 2 different occasions, and we've been able to get money in both instances. He got the 10.3, he helped get that 10.3 on 460, and then he was able to get, I think, 2 million on our road new access road from out of the park. So that's the second entrance out there. So he was able, I say he, as Andy said, but Andy said, he's been able to help us along that line and been able to get, in fact, he got 2.3 million instead of 2. He came back and had us increase to 2.3. So anyway, so.
They're very effective, obviously. Again, that's what they do for a living. They find money for communities, and they're very successful at it, and they can find money for us.
Because on the 460 deal, if memory serves me correctly, on the 460 deal, we did not use him the first year we applied.
That's correct.
We did not get the money. We used his company, or used his organization the second year, and we were able to get the money.
That's correct.
So you have to kind of, to me, you have to read between the lines on this deal.
Yes, sir. You're absolutely right. And he and his country very much would want to be involved.
Yes.
So there are resources out there to help us with the process, for sure.
Okay, we have the motion on the floor to pass a resolution in favor of support of the park. No more discussion, we'll call the question. Please.
Mayor Plummer,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Galbraith,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gibson. Motion carries.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks
very
Thank
much.
you.
I'll just make one thing. Let's make an effort to get maybe Mr. Satterley and Mr. Acosta
Yeah, Joe
together
Acosta, yeah.
to talk, and maybe a representative from the commission, a representative from the court, sit down with them, and Bill or whoever needs to be involved, and just share the numbers and talk about the numbers.
Yeah. Because again, I guess Grant's familiar with your all's, your financials, and, and Joe's somewhat familiar with ours, and is getting more familiar with ours because looking at, our our earnings and things like that over the last few years. So, okay.
Will Brad be in that meeting?
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Yes.
Brad,
Thank you.
but.
Yes.
Thank you.
But the person with the checkbook has to be in the meeting.
Exactly. Exactly.
When they say it's not about the money, it's about the money.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks.
All right, we'll move back up to just an update on the retention of a hiring firm for the new city manager, Wallace and Holly. You got anything to report on that? Or?
Just the fact that, I guess, you gave the contact was supposed to get.
The only one I've contacted and got 2 different proposals was the Kentucky League of Cities. They have refined theirs. They're on the 2nd proposal. I mean, did you have?
I've got all kinds. So the first person I reached out to was Frankfurt because they have a long history of hiring city managers. And so I got all kinds of a wealth of information from their city clerk, Shermy Maxwell. We had a big hour-long talk about the different companies they have used, their processes. She said that they are very highly inclusive of the community partners like Chamber of Commerce, the library, the county. Everybody that has any kind of stake in working with the city manager, they really wanted to be involved. So when they would use a company and they would narrow it down to about 6 city manager candidates, then they would hold an interview with those community partners, and they would be able to ask any questions they wanted to. And then after that was over, they had a Google form that they filled out with questions that they had come up with the recruitment firm that they had talked to. So she shared that with me. She also shared sample city manager interview questions that, of course, whoever is helping us with that, I'm sure would help us as well. So she gave me their job description, which, obviously is updated because they just hired a city manager recently to kind of give us an idea of what they asked for. So that was a great talk, and she was a wealth of information and said anything else that we need, she would, be happy to provide it. I also spoke with the Next Move group, Chad Chancellor, and he said, before we go any further, is your city progressive? Do they want to grow? Because we only deal in cities and city managers who are willing to work well with economic development, which Gordon would be thrilled with, and that really are in the market to grow their city. So, he was super positive, sounded, fabulous. He's going to send me a proposal. So, and I said, absolutely. We are ready to grow, and we want a leader who is, on board with that. So, the next one I reached out to was the Slavin Group, which, and that's the group that Danville recently used. Mr. Slavin was out on vacation, so he is supposed to give me a call back. And then the final one that I spoke to was GovHR USA. We talked about, they have 4 different proposals or ways you can go. There's an executive recruitment, which is the full scope, where they absolutely handle absolutely everything. The marketing, they do everything. We basically just have to kind of tell them what we want. Then they kind of go to different scopes from there. They've got a limited scope, which, they develop the flyer, they post your position, they evaluate your candidates, approximately 10 to 20. They conduct interviews, they present all the candidates, notify all the applicants of the appointed candidates. So, they do all that work from start to finish. And then they have also like a virtual recruitment. If we don't want to spend a whole lot of money, they basically do the same thing, but they do it all virtually. They don't, have travel expenses to come. And then they also do a professional outreach for, $3,000 just to share our job description and everything with their, I think she said something about hundreds of thousands of candidates around the United States. So I have all kinds of different things to discuss, just waiting on those couple more proposals,
Okay.
And then we can kind of go from there.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Alvin.
Next, Mr. Coleman, we have a first reading of an ordinance related to street and sidewalk.
So these 2 sort of companion ordinances, follow up to our conversation, I believe, in our latter June meeting. Tried to distill the direction you all had given me. One thing that we didn't really address was dedicated parking. We had a little discussion about that as well. So that's one topic we follow up on, but no reason to make the rest of this sit until you all kind of know which direction you want to go there. So the first ordinance that you have before you addresses chapter 52 of the code, which is actually under the title of streets and sidewalks. The first section, trying to refine this so that it is permissible to sell from the street in limited circumstances. One, such as what you all approved today, is when the streets are closed for special events, or where you all may give, one-time approval for things. Or second, if the person is able to sell onto a city sidewalk or private property, and then I added that last sentence to make it clear that all the normal parking restrictions or anything else, traffic would still apply, and then we will strike out in full that next section at 52-103, which some of the language is a little antiquated as well. So we have a separate section of the code that prohibits blocking the sidewalk. The part in here that talks about blocking the sidewalk was restricted only to selling items. We have a different one that just prohibits just blocking the sidewalk because you just did. Set a couch out for carpet or whatever. Right. So you still have an existing ordinance provision elsewhere that requires the sidewalks to still be left open for pedestrian traffic. I can go ahead and read the next one since these two are somewhat related. The second section deals with the code of ordinance in this section, section 63, addresses what's called peddlers and solicitors. It sets up a permitting scheme. We identified what a peddler would be, and we identified a new term, which is the itinerant merchant. That was actually lifted from state statutes. I borrowed from that. So you see, we struck the first section was kind of an introductory section anyway, which is easy to pull out. The second section, 63002, I guess is ancient, and I kind of think of the newsboys, extra, read all about it from the street corner. We have a noise ordinance, which is actually under review as well. So you can take out that entire section. Then we get into section 3, and it's a little choppy to read. Of course, our state statutes require it to be read this way, but what it will say is that so on one hand, you're allowing people to sell from the street in those limited circumstances. Together, this section makes clear that no one possesses that right to sell it to the exclusion of somebody else. Just to make that clear, that actually would apply to parking. So you got that, but then take out some of the other restrictions, including business hours, and then as you get into chapter 63, that sets up the peddler and transient merchant. We define peddler. I had asked whether that was still needed, and both the city clerk and chief of police have said that actually it is. Still not frequently, but it does come up a few times a year where people will come in for the peddler permit, as we'll call it now, or residents will call just to double check that someone has that permit. So we didn't want, I assume from your all's direction from before, you didn't want the same restrictions on someone going door to door to homes versus, let's say, hypothetically, someone operating a food truck in the city parking lot at a festival that you all have allowed. So that's the distinction between whether it's the additional background material that's required for the door-to-door going into people's homes versus someone who's just engaged in more of a retail process. What I didn't know, as we flip down, I guess page 23, 24 of the packet, that sets up the permit, which is just going to require your name, description, again, things that it might be needed, hopefully never would be, but it might be, and someone's given a description of who they are, what they're doing, where they've been before. And then, for the fees for the transient merchant permit, we've talked about this in the past. Cities are kind of across the board. I left some blanks. I set that maximum at 500. I was just going in part by what Richmond had done, and I think I had distributed that to you guys a couple times to look at. But I thought the direction you all were taking was you would give that transient merchant, and it's two options. One, if they're coming to a festival. So, for example, we talked about the Pumpkin Festival. That doesn't count toward that permit because they would be covered under that Pumpkin Festival permit or the Art Walk permit or whatever that may be. If they're coming, more of a one-day type of thing, then and they may come multiple times through the year, they're exempted from the net profits fee and tax return, and they don't have to deal with that. But instead, they're still paying a sum of money, and that allows them to come a certain number of dates. What I don't know that you all have really reached any decision on is what you want that amount to be and how many dates you want that amount to cover. So it might be, if the minimum license fee is $75 now, so if you did a $75 annual fee and then allowed them to come 3 times, that puts them kind of on par with another business. You can make it more. You can make it less. And the other kind of question I guess I need you all to answer is, and as I put in my communication to you, there's the classic example of the ice cream truck. If we have the restriction that says you can sell, and we think Main Street, right? And we think a food truck on Main Street. You can park and sell, but you can't sell out into the road. Obviously, it's going to create a hazard, but you would be permitted, if you all adopt this, to sell on the sidewalk. But in residential areas, you've traditionally allowed people to sell out into the street. So I sent you that sample language that Lexington used. If you want to go that way, I think it easily fits. Insert that. That's a long-winded explanation.
Thank you, Brian. It's something that's needed to be done for many years. And if you get your suggestions back, and we'll let this serve as first reading of these 2 ordinances. Okay. But unless you want.
Oh, I was just going to say on the transient merchant permit, if you all can give me some
dollars there.
Dollars. I need a dollar amount and the number of visits you want that to go.
I personally like the $75 3 visits.
Basic sample.
Yeah.
Sounds good. And then I'll insert the accommodation for the ice cream truck.
Yes.
Lauren has a question.
After the 3 visits, is it covered, or is it they only get 3 visits?
They only get 3
They
visits.
only get, it's
They
flat.
come in and not 3 more.
Okay. So for 3 more visits, I have to pay another $75.
There you go.
We can do that. Can we do that?
In your language here, it says for each additional, you have a fee.
Well, if they're coming, right, so what's the magic number, right? At what point, when do you stop being itinerant and when are you permanent?
You could say you're permanent and pay $75 and pay your net profits and be licensed for the whole year.
Yeah.
The 75 transient gets you away from the net profits.
Probably keeps you from filing that form, but then again, it says for, let's say, an additional blank for each date thereafter, up to a maximum of, and plug in your example, is $500. So,
I have one more question. Are they paying $25 each time?
No.
They're paying 75. So that's not better than the current situation. That's worse.
They would not be paying any other tax at all.
Okay.
There would be
No other
no
tax,
net
no
profit, no
payroll,
payroll
no
tax,
nothing.
no nothing. It would only be a flat 75 with no tax.
With no
at all.
tax.
Yeah, and so I think the way it's written, if you're coming more than 3, then you need to be paying the regular.
Gotcha. Sounds good.
Because when it's,
I'm on board.
right, because when we have the festival permit, then that doesn't count toward their days.
it doesn't count toward the current.
It's a different amount. So. All right. Well, thank you, Brian. Next on the agenda, we have the South Main electrical pole replacement. Superintendent Sparkman's unable to be here, but we have Andrew Steele. Want to come forward, please, sir? In your packet, was distributed a memo pretty much from Aaron Sparkman, which kind of outlines what's going on here. This is in conjunction with the South Main Street Road project. It's clear as mud. If you're coming into town, on the right-hand side, the utility poles are AT&T poles. On the left-hand side, are City of Paris poles. And Aaron's crew and Andrew can address this, have looked at the project, and there's some areas that if the poles are left, the ones that are there, and concrete's poured around them, there will be deterioration, there will be issues with poles in the middle of driveways and sidewalks, and in the interest to do it and do it right and get it done. So we're not the bad guys going back right after the project's done and tearing up the concrete work and sidewalk. We brought this project to you. Andrew, you got anything you want to add to that?
Basically, we're wanting to move the poles that are going to be in the concrete 4 to 6, I'd say 4 to 10 feet one way or the other to get them out of these aprons. Because what the highway department is doing is they're making really wide aprons, and even some of the poles that are not in concrete now will be. And a lot of that pole line is 60 plus years old, so chances of those poles being replaced soon is more likely than not. With that, I mean, the reason we need help on it is just our day-to-day operations. It takes away from us being able to do that, because I know up by 20th Street, I've been here for, I guess, about 5 years now. The poles that I have set on Main Street have been right between 2 gas mains. And we cannot dig that with a truck. That has to be hand dug. So you're talking, if there's rock, you could be a couple days hand digging that hole. If it's just dirt, you could probably get the pole set in the same day. But we've got several other ongoing projects that are kind of time sensitive. I know over towards like Vine Street, 627 area, KU came in and replaced a lot of transmission poles over there. We've got a lot of lines, a lot of poles over there the lines are out on temporary fiberglass arms that we've got to get to. And we've been held upon that, waiting on drill bits and various other materials beneath it because of the COVID and the hold on shipping and stuff like that. So some of that stuff is coming now, so now we can get back to working on that because it's temporary right now. It's so having an extra crew in here to be able to spend a 40-hour week right on Main Street would be great. But the way that they'll have to work is they'll leapfrog with the Walker crews, because it goes all the way from 20th to 14th Street. And I think there's 20 to 25 poles that we're looking at replacing.
Looks like 24 from my count.
Yeah.
We thought about making this because it is an emergent situation, but we were able to get an ad in the paper. We took sealed bids, and before you are the 2 companies who bid, because this is time sensitive. We don't, in no way do we want to hold the project up. So these companies, specifically the EPR are elected.
Yeah, F Electric, they are a company out of Williamstown. They're a small company. They said that they could be here on the 26th of July, so I think they're ready to come. As soon as we say yay or nay on them coming, there was a third company that put in a bid, 5-Star Electric, but they were a little more than the F Electric, and they were thinking for them to replace the poles was going to take 6 to 8 weeks. We don't really have 6 to 8 weeks. before they start pouring aprons over there.
So that's what we have before you. We just need a motion to approve, pending a formal agreement or contract.
And we think all this is within the right of way.
It is.
There not be any easements.
And what about Bolin? Isn't that a bigger company? Could they have
Bolin-
done it quicker or, you know, just a little more?
Boland is a bigger company. Meeting with their operations manager, he didn't know because I mean, the contractors had a big shutdown and drawdown with all the COVID because a lot of the power companies did not want outside people in the power companies, but now their workload is picking back up because they've been behind for the last year and a half. So the bowling company didn't think they would be able to put more than one crew here. I mean, F Electric, I think they're one crew too. So Bolin has more assets, but they were considerably higher. I want to say they were, it's $2,500 more per week than the F Electric, which they seem to, I mean, they both kind of had the same ideas as far as changing up poles and timelines and all that. It's just, I mean, it was kind of apples to apples. Bolin being a bigger company couldn't contribute more crews than F Electric, so.
So it's a recommendation of the electric crew to go with that, what's your pleasure?
And I would just say, just because I know time's of the essence, if the motion would be to go ahead and approve the mayor to sign our typical contract, then we utilize it as these terms. And we just come back and get approval.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by the mayor, second by Mr. Brooks, all in roll call, please.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Galbraith?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Okay, moving into new business. So we have a funding request for patriotic concert in the garden. That's the Garden Club on Pleasant Street is requesting some financial help with, I believe it's Labor Day. They're going to provide patriotic music. I think in the past we've given like $300 to support them. What's your pleasure?
Motion to donate $300 to the patriotic concert in the garden on Sunday, August the 29th.
I've got a motion from Mr. Calvin. Second from the mayor.
You do need to attend it, it's real patriotic. Nice music. Nice setting.
Roll call.
Commissioner Roberts? Commissioner Galbraith?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks? Motion carries.
Okay, also in your packet is the standard memo from me. The date's wrong. This should be today's date, August 10th. Those accounts have dual payments for their water meter, for 2 water meters, and are entitled to a reimbursement of $54. I just need approval to pay those refunds. So, got a motion by Brooks.
I'll second.
By Galbraith. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Galbraith?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, we have a recommendation from the mayor for an appointment to the Community Development Agency.
In the package, you have a municipal order approving the mayor's, actually it's a reappointment of Clayton Brooks to the board of the Community Development Agency. This, again, will be his second term and last term. So I need a motion for this.
Motion.
Got a motion by Mr. Galvin. Second by Ms. Roberts. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Galbraith?
Yes, ma'am.
Motion carries.
Next, we got a recommendation for the Ethics Board.
Okay. Also, you have a municipal order approving the mayor's appointment of Pastor Kyle Sullivan to the City of Paris Ethics Board for a term ending April 11th, 2025. Need a motion.
So, Brooks and Roberts. Roll call, please.
Mayor Plummer,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks, Commissioner Roberts, Commissioner Galbraith,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gibson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, in your package, you have a memo from Aaron regarding the hiring of the accounts payable position. Aaron?
Linda Christopher has been working for the city since April through People Plus, and we would like to transition her to a full-time accounts payable role. There are no fees or transition charges. We fulfilled our obligation with the staffing agency. So we'd like to recommend the hire of Linda Christopher.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Gibson.
I'll second.
Second from Mr. Galbraith. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Galbraith,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gibson,
Yes.
Mayor Plummer.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, we have a memo from the Chief Deputy and Aaron Morton on the hire in the fire department.
This one is for a full-time firefighter EMT, Benjamin Lane. He has been working part-time for the department since January of '21, and we'd like to transition him to full-time. He will need to complete his medical exam to become permanent.
So, got a motion by Commissioner Brooks,
Second.
second by the mayor. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roberts, Commissioner Galbraith,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gibson,
Yes.
Mayor Plummer,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, we have a memo on the hiring of a telecommunicator.
Justin Yao has been working for the city since February. He's completed all of his Department of Criminal Justice background and poly for dispatch. We would like to send him to the academy. And in order to do that, we would need to hire him in a permanent full-time role.
Got a motion by Commissioner Brooks,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Galbraith. The roll call, please.
Commissioner Galbraith,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gibson,
Yes.
Mayor Plummer,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts. Motion carries.
Next in your package, you have a memo from Chief Thomas and Aaron on the hiring of police officers.
This is for the police department for a full-time certified lateral hire. So this is a certified officer. The first one is for Barry Maggard. He has 30 years of policing experience. He is local to our community, which is great, and we would like to recommend him to a permanent position in the police department.
Make a motion.
Got a motion by Commissioner Gibson, second by Commissioner Brooks. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gibson,
Yes.
Mayor Plummer,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Galbraith.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We have another
Yeah,
candidate.
one more. The next one is for James Green. He is also a certified lateral hire that is local. We are looking to, both of these last ones also will have to complete drug screens in their physical for DOCJT. But we would like to recommend permanent hire for James Green in the police department.
Motion.
Got a motion by Commissioner Gibson,
Second.
second by the mayor. Roll call, please.
Mayor Plummer,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts, Commissioner Galbraith,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gibson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next on the agenda is the appointment of the deputy alcohol beverage control administrators.
So the city ordinance allows for up to 7 deputy ABC enforcement officers behind the city manager. Chief Thomas, it's tradition, the chief is one of those, but the 6 additional ones, not only that chief, are Detective Hadley, Larry Barrett, Joe Stevenson, Adam Harmon, Lucy Jones, and Keith Bill. So motion.
Got a motion by Commissioner Brooks, second by Commissioner Roberts. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts, Commissioner Galbraith,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gibson,
Yes.
Mayor Plummer.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. That takes us into financial business.
All right, thank you. Starting on page 42, we've got the breakdown of the cash for the general fund. At the end of June, you can see our unrestricted funds are right around 7.1 million compared to 5.5 million for last year. And then municipal aid down in the restricted, we're about ready to get all or half of the funding is set for road pavements coming in this month as well too. So that's our cash status at the end of June. Moving on to page 43 for general fund or budget to actual. Actually, if we go to page 44, just to look at the totals real quick. As of right now, before we go through and start working on the audit adjustments and everything, our revenues are at 8.4 million. We had revised our budget to 8.6 million. Part of that budget for revenues included the 400,000 in loan proceeds for police cars. That's actually something that's starting to come in as of right now. So that 400,000 will get transferred over to this fiscal year. We should still, we can't modify the budget anymore, but obviously we're kind of right in line with where we were from a revenue standpoint for actual. On the expenditure side as well too, not having those police cars kind of brought in last fiscal years, obviously we're going to be under our budget expenditures by about 565,000. So that should leave us, hopefully, we'll get the audit to alleviate any of the budget findings that we've had last year as well too. So we should be right in with our expenditure line. So when we look at the actual column, our revenues have exceeded our expenditures by around 307,000. Kind of had projected about 686,000 revenue over expenses as of the end of May. One of the things we still need to transfer over is the pilot payments of the taxes from utility fund over to the general fund. So as we kind of get into end of August, September, we'll get those prior year amounts transferred over. So next couple pages are all the details by department, so you guys can see where those line items are. Move on down to page 64 to the utility fund cash balances. And so you see from an operating standpoint, we're at 2.2 million. Obviously, the loan proceeds for the purchase of the water meters is sitting in our unrestricted investment account there at 2 million. Obviously, that's going to go out here fairly soon over the next couple months. Our construction fund, which is where we pretty much set aside the $10 meter fee, electric meter fees up to 834,000. So overall cash balance is right around 3.5 million. Obviously, we're up significantly from last year. We did get the ARP funds in, and we did, I think it was right around 1.3 million, just a little bit less than 1.3. We have put those into the construction fund, and what you'll start seeing next month is I'll break that construction fund out into two lines. One as far as our regular cash funds, and then what our ARP funds and stuff are, because we can still kind of earn interest on those funds, and just we have to track that separately. So moving on to page 65, kind of give you that column format of the various departments on the utility side. So as of right now, you'll see total operating revenues right around 9.3 million. Once we factor in electric surcharge, what we charge for the 911 fees and some grants, you'll see that, and then back out the expenditures kind of related to those, you'll see our overall net revenue is right around 9.8 million for the year. And then our expenditures are right around 7 million. Our operating expenditures right before interest and depreciation are right around 7.7 million. Interest expense right around 67,000. So as far as an overall operating standpoint, net income of 2 million, now that is on an accrual basis. So once we kind of go on to page 67 and look at how our cash flows go, we take that 1.26 million from accrual operating income and back out changes in receivables and payables. We actually had a positive cash flow on the utility side of around 195,000. We invested about 928,000 in capital improvements, and then you can kind of see the various things that we do as far as pay down about 347,000 in debt as well for the year. So started out 1.43 million in cash. We increased it by 2.6, which is really related to the loan proceeds to give us cash balance of 3.5 or 3.6 million. Page 68 just kind of gives you that more of a summarized budget to actual number as well too. And so you can kind of see, you know, even though, like I said, the financial statements above, I've got some things that are built into that, like depreciation that aren't on this schedule here. So from the overall standpoint, you can see we're about 2.9 million revenues over budget, but that'll change as we get into getting things reconciled and do the audit adjustments and everything. So the rest of these pages just really have the detail for the utility fund by department and everything, and that's the financial report.
So we have a motion to approve the financial.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Galbraith, second by Robert. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Galbraith?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Approval. Yeah.
Approval of payments. Alrighty, so this is a long one since we haven't had a meeting in a while. And there's a couple things I do want to point out that I added on to this that you guys can kind of let me know if we want to see this for the future. But starting on page 90, you'll see the general fund. That carries on over for about 4 pages to page 93. So total claims to pay for general fund since our last meeting is $806,862.64. I think the bulk of that was a payment for the street sweeper as well too, on there. So that was the good majority, and then the payments for our various community partners. So then starting on page 94, this is a report I've been providing to Commissioner Roberts and Gibson so that they kind of have a detail of what's going on. I thought it'd be good just to include that in this packet as well too, since it's been a while. If you guys kind of like that and want to, it won't be quite as long between next meeting. If it's something you guys are interested in to see instead of the summarized format, just kind of let me know. Moving on to page 102 is a utility fund, and once again, this goes over 4 pages long. So total claims that we'll need on the utility fund are $307,668.50.
Motion to approve payment of invoices as presented.
Second.
Motion by Galbraith, second from Commissioner Roberts. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Galbraith?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, and then there's a list of.
Yeah, the list of open invoices kind of will look different from what you guys were used to as well too. I went ahead and tried to set it up as the same as those detailed check runs, just so that it would total it by vendor, and give you guys kind of a little bit more breakdown of the account numbers that it's hitting in departments as well too, so.
Okay, moving on to reports. Do we have any community partners here? Andrea, do you have anything in performance?
Yeah, I'll be brief. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So next week is going to be a busy week for the planning office. We've got 3 evening meetings. On Monday, the 16th at 6:30 is a West Side Housing, Safety, and Infrastructure meeting at the Paris Independent Cafeteria. At that meeting, actually, Michelle Thornsberg, the building inspector and code enforcement officer, is going to be presenting on both code enforcement and the building permitting process to answer any questions. So please join if you're able. On Tuesday, we have a Board of Adjustments meeting here in the Commission chambers. That's at 5:30. And we have 2 applications on the docket. One is a setback variance request, and the other is a conditional use permit request for property off of Cynthiana Road for an agritourism facility. On Thursday, we have a planning commission meeting, and that will be here in the commission chambers at 6:30. And on that docket, we have 1 application for a minor addition to the Paris Church of Christ church off of South Main Street. So those are the 3 meetings we have next week. We also are expecting a second reading of the job description for our part-time code enforcement officer this Thursday at the fiscal court meeting. So we will hit the ground running. Once that's approved, we're going to advertise for that position starting next week on Facebook, in the newspaper, etc. So that's all I have for today. Any questions?
Thank you, Andrew.
Mr. Brooks has to leave. He's got a previous engagement, so if possible, I need an executive session. If we could move to that, pursuant to KRS 61.810, subsection 1F, for discussion that might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee. And under KRS 61.810, section 1, for meetings which federal or state law specifically required to be conducted in private. I need a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Motion by Galvin, second by Commissioner Gibson. Roll call, please.
Mayor Plummer? Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Galbraith?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I'm gonna tell